Hey everyone, good morning. This video might upset people, and if so, I invite you to either turn this off or keep an open mind as you watch and know that the intention is not to upset, but to ask for a collective thought process and a collective change. Because this year, in 2015, I am choosing to celebrate, well, I shouldn't even say the word celebrate, not even, to remember and honor 9/11 differently than ever before. I'm not going to watch any of the news footage. I'm not going to look at any of the pictures of the Twin Towers. I'm not going to observe any of the ceremonies that may be going on today. I am going to do this a little differently. This is not to say that it's any less important or significant, because there are people who are directly affected by the tragedy. There are people who lost their lives, and there are people who are still dealing with the after effects. New York City will never be the same. And I do, of course, set time, a moment aside, and give a special blessing to everyone who is affected directly by 9/11. But I don't have to relive the images, the horror, the just, I don't have to go there. I don't have to remember by reliving the tragedy over and over again and watching the events as they unfolded. I will never forget them. I don't need to do that. If you were around then, I'm sure you remember where you were. We all do, because those kind of events are etched forever in our minds and in our hearts. We don't forget. So what is it that we do forget? Why do we need to remind ourselves to remember today? And I think this is the important question, and this is really at the heart of it, what matters. Why do we ask ourselves to remember? And what important was the takeaway from that? Because, it's really, I think terrorism and those events happening on American soil was unthinkable and unspeakable at that time, and shook a lot of us to the core and woke us up. And I'm going to tell you this, because what stuck out most to me as somebody who went through that at that time, watched the news that night for, 24 hours straight, watched all the footage over and over again, there was one thing, of course I'll never forget, the planes hitting the towers, and the towers collapsing, and the terror. I'll never forget it, okay? I'll never forget that. But there's one thing that stuck out to me the most, that haunts me to this day, every day. And that was the voicemail left by a woman who was in the building at the time and knew that there was no hope. She came to grips with the fact that she was going to die and there was no way out. And so what did she do? She wasn't worried about how much money she had in the bank. She wasn't worried about her car, her house. She wasn't worried about any news stories, global warming, gay marriage, or, what color of people's skin are, or who upset her last week, or, she wasn't worried about anything but one thing. And that was calling her new husband and leaving him a voicemail to say, I love you. I want you to know. And if you haven't heard this voicemail, I'm sure you can Google it and find it and listen to it. And I guarantee you will never forget it. And it will rock your world, because that is really the takeaway in the message that I am going to choose to remember today, is that every freaking moment is precious, because you never know. And all we take with us when we leave this earth is love. It's what we come in with, that's what we leave with. And that's really the greatest gift that we can give as human beings. So I am going to choose to remember that phone call, and what that really means is that to remind me that these people lost their lives, and some of them didn't even get the chance to do that. And if they could return, or if they could send a message, what would they say? What would they have done differently that morning? And I would be willing to guess that every single person would say, or tell the people around you that you love them and do not waste another moment. Live your life. Be yourself. Live your life. And don't waste another moment sweating the small stuff, worried about the bullshit. And do something to make a difference. Go out there and help somebody. I don't think they would come back, be delivering messages of anger and resentment and anti-terrorism and all of these things. It would be like, let it go. The anger is not worth it. Live, love, matter. And that was I take that from Brendon Burchard. The book is called Millionaire Messenger. And he had a near-death experience, and those are the questions he asked himself. And I think that was brilliantly put. And the message to take away from 9/11, that we can't reverse this horrific tragedy. And yes, we bless and remember everyone affected and pray for them. But honor and respect what they went through, which no one should have to go through, by the way, but by continuing to move forward and take the sentiment with you about any day could be our last here on earth. So who are we going to be? What are we going to do? And don't forget to give that love. Because that's all we get to take with us. We don't take the bank account. We don't take the cars and the house. All that's going to be remembered is how you made people feel and how you were of service. That's it. So I'm going to choose to take that with me today. And I hope that others will do the same. So remember this day, remember 9/11, and remember that the only way to go forward and really heal is to come together as one, as Americans, as brothers and sisters, united in love. Peace.